Hey guys, if you like this content, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys like the video and subscribed to my channel. It helps make these videos worth it going forward. What's up guys, Altcoin Sherpa here with a crypto market review. As always, this is not financial advice. I'm not an expert, do your own research. Okay, so let's just talk about Bitcoin USD. Yesterday, well, more today, we are seeing some pullback. Overall, I still am of the belief that 50K will get tapped, but it's looking like price may test these former range highs around 40K or so first. I would say anywhere from 42 to 40,000 seems like an interesting area. There's a lot of confluence with this 40K area. 42 also is an area of interest. It's like kind of this former high as well on the daily, around 42K, and there will be a lot of confluence around 40,000 as well. You can look around former range high. As you can see, this range high has been tapped several times all throughout May and June, and again, this would be an interesting retest right here. If you scale down to lower time frame charts, there's probably going to be some supply zones as well that show up. Confluent with the 200-day EMA, it was support back in August, and it may get tested again coming up. So 40K would be like my area of interest for buying dips. I do believe that 40K should provide some support on the way down, especially if you start scaling down to lower time frame charts. I'll clean this up. Okay, so this is FTX chart. We'll scale it down a little bit and mark some levels. 40K, this is obviously the area that I was just talking about. It's also the 200 EMA on the 4-hour as well, which this will creep up to that point as well. So again, confluent with some of the levels there. And if you look down at lower time frame charts as well, you can see these short demand zones that will creep up around, as I said, kind of 42K area. This is 41 to 40. This is kind of an interesting area of that I'm looking at, and also a little bit higher around 42, as I said before. This should provide some support. Currently, I think that price will probably go to 42. I mean, it's the way it looks. I mean, you could maybe take an aggressive entry if you start scaling down to lower time frame charts. So, for instance, like this kind of consolidation area was a demand area before this broke out, and this is also a good example of looking at lower time frame charts and looking at inefficient moves. Inefficient moves, those are when you see price blitz up huge on lower time frame charts or down, and when you see this, price usually likes to fill this area out. So you'll see situations where price just goes up like this, and then it will like come back down and grind through it. And this shows up, this type of price action shows up throughout a lot of different indicators and tools. For instance, it'll show up on like volume profile, like especially. So if we look at VPVR and we were to just like take out like this thing, right, just go back to the past, you'll see usually some sort of like gap in price when price goes up, and usually that area will want to get filled out. So like here's a good example right here. Like you'll see there's not much trading activity in there for like 41K. So price may want to fill that out, and this will also show up in like market TPO charts as well. Like you'll see single prints, but anyways, that's kind of like off topic. What I'm trying to say basically is that when you see these like big moves, these big moves will want to get filled out eventually. It might take some time, but this is also a reason why I like trading some of these as well, in the sense that I believe that many of these areas will get filled out. Like Matic was a good example too. Back for its dump, it had this kind of like big inefficient move and then filled it out, and then now it's just coming back down. So if you look on very low time frame charts, you'll see that price will have some of these big moves, and then price will want to fill out a lot of the price action, or a lot of these inefficiencies. So again, this is kind of a little bit off topic. Sorry for that. Anyways, for BTC USD, as I said, the area that I'm viewing is kind of like this 40K area as an area to buy the dip. 42K should be an area that you are looking for as an aggressive first entry, but I think anywhere from 42 to 40K seems like an interesting area to me. Now, from a midterm context, like maybe this is just like a lower high formed, I could potentially see that as well. This kind of swing low area was a significant area of resistance, as we can see, around 47K. And it's entirely possible that price is just like made kind of like this lower high, and now it's just going to go lower. I still believe that 50K ish will get tapped, but I mean, this is kind of close enough. Like I've had the thesis that price would hit kind of these 45 to 50K area before any new lows. Now price has actually gotten to this point. I'm actually not quite sure what's going to happen in the midterm. Like, as I said, the 200-day EMA has flipped support, which is nice to see, and usually a bullish situation. But in terms of this being kind of like the macro low, like at 30K, like I'm not so sure. I did have ideas that this is kind of like the macro low in general, but it's entirely possible too that now that price has gotten up to this level that I've been watching for months now, price could certainly dump lower. But there's a lot of levels in between current price action around 44K and 30K. So let's just see. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's more likely that price just kind of chops around. I think that we'll see something like, pull back to like 40,000, come back up to like 50,000 or so. And then maybe like grind back down. At that point, we are going to be looking for higher lows and higher highs. And if the market structure flips bullish at that point on the daily, then I do believe that the 30K levels are the lows for the mid and kind of macro later term, actually, at that point. It's certainly possible that price goes to like the 30Ks again, but in terms of 28K to 30K being like the low, I think that's pretty valid if we start to see kind of a break in market structure here. And on lower time frame charts, you could maybe argue too that like, maybe we aren't in a bull market at this point on the 4 hour. Like areas like this could be denoted as a high. This could be like the last significant high. As you can see during this consolidation period, price is just making lower highs and lower lows. But it's also important to zoom out and understand that from a context standpoint, when you see prices chopping around like this, the higher highs and higher lows aspect, or lower highs and lower lows, they don't really matter as much, because it's not like a really clear trend, in my opinion. Like, we saw back in all of 2021, price was clearly trending very strongly. And then also back in 2018, oh, well, this is the FTX chart, so they don't have 2018. But during 2018, price was just really, really bearish. But when you see price ranging like this, market structure aspects, I don't think matter as much until you start to see a true break from the range. And, did we see that? We did see like lots of volume coming out on this break of this 40K level, kind of this 40K level being broken, but I don't really consider this like a true breakout until price starts like going and going higher quite yet. I mean, sure, this could be just like a break from this range, but it's still possible it's just a deviation and price just goes back within it. That's entirely possible as well. So anyways, my overall thoughts is that 42 to 40K is a dip that I would look to buy. There's going to be a lot of confluence with that area with many EMAs, former range high, SR, volume profile, whatever you want to use. There's like a lot of confluence there. So in my opinion, this would be a decent dip to buy. Invalidation, if you are doing an active trade, would probably be below these like 38K area. In terms of it being the macro low, I would like to see where these current lows are printed. I would like to see if this does make it up to its way to like 50K or so. If so, then I will consider this being higher highs and higher lows, and these overall 30K lows being kind of like the mid macro term lows in that case. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all the support.